sorry, the Spanish army commanding a garrison actually at a Presidio. Now the Presidio, which means fortress, is still up there on the hill. It has just now been converted to the years ago converted to the Father Nicolas Serra Museum. So feel free to head up there to the museum Monday through Friday. If you do not go to the museum, if you want to head up to Presidio Park up there where the trees are, beautiful views of all of San Diego. So I would recommend it for a picnic. Just look around a little bit, do a little hiking, explore nice trails. Now the King of Spain, let's get back to the missions. Wanted 21 missions. They wanted all missions built within 30 miles of each other. So if you had about 30, actually, they didn't get it exactly right. If you go 33 miles north, the second mission, Mission San Luis Rey, is in Oceanside. Rey does mean king, so the Oceanside mission is the king, the largest of all the 21 missions. Now the 30 miles represented a day's ride on horseback. The way the king wanted it back then. They also wanted each mission, of course, built next to a water source. Water obviously sustains life. That brings up the San Diego River, which is down here to the right, underneath of a mile. Now the San Diego River is going to flow through here. Right now, we were in the middle of the river. This was the 1700s and 1800s. In fact, before you can see the freeway going fast straight ahead, that's where the bay and the river met. Yes, that was how high the water line was. So you can imagine there was a lot of flooding back in the days. That Machado Constantine and Swords were washing out to the open sea, constantly being rebuilt. So in 1877, as like what happened, the engineers put in a dam that held back the river. It's like I said, about an equal mile to the right. As we take a left here on Pacific Highway, keep in mind this was originally the starting point on El Camino Real, which translates to the Royal Road. This was the trail or the beginning of the road connecting all 21 missions to El Camino Real. So you'll see all portions of El Camino Real up and down the coast. Now when this dried up, when the engineers came back the river, this area dried up. We're going to take a left and we're going to create a perfect plateau. We're going to go along the waterfront here. And you can imagine, government and aircraft industries were anxious to buy up this land. Airplanes were taking flight, and by the early 1900s, this area became known as the Dutch Flats. And the first airport was actually installed just about 2 blocks to the left of us. The Dutch Field. It's called Dutch Flats Field. Of course, nothing remains of it except for a little plaque in the sidewalk. Then as we come up here on the left, you might have heard of this guy, Reuben H. Lee. He was an early aviation pioneer. He brought a seaplane company out from Buffalo, New York, Consolidated Aircraft. But coming up on the left, you're going to notice the ginormous 250,000 square foot building. It's green, white, with red trim. Huge set of, I would say, warehouses. This is now owned by the Navy, called NAV, or Naval Warfare Systems Command, which one of the words attached to it. This was originally Reuben H. Lee Seaplane Company, Consolidated Aircraft. Now, Reuben H. Lee was in Buffalo, New York. He wanted to build his test seaplanes. Anybody been to Buffalo, New York? Well, the winters there are not conducive to seaplanes. You have like 4 or 5 months of pretty cold conditions. So he knew San Diego was the perfect place for his business venture. So this right here on the left. They, of course, Naval Air Force only allows top secret engineers, high-ranking officials in there. So for us, and trust me, you cannot go in there without some kind of credentials or a secret code. But it's no secret, of course, this was Reuben H. Lee's seaplane company, Consolidated Aircraft. Now, during World War II, Reuben H. Lee also designed the B-24 Liberator bomber. 1/3 of those B-24s were built here in San Diego. The ladies working hard, they gave Rosie the Riveter to the women building those planes during World War II. All the right here. 1/3 of those B-24s. Speaking of more latitude, take a look out to your right. After World War I, the Marine Corps recruiting depot was established by Colonel Joseph Middleton. Right here, you'll see the main differences with MCRD. Now, what's interesting, just a male facility, male training recruiting depot for the longest time. Of course, due to sign of time, it has just been converted to Choway. Oh, ironically, South Carolina, the Versailles Marine Corps, San Diego Marines, as SOC. They call us Hollywood Marines. He actually made it. He made it. Thomas A. Lindbergh. Lucky Lindsay, as they call him, landed at Lake Bourget here. You know the rest. Lucky Lindsay landed at Lake Bourget and used a lavatory front there. Now, if you look out to your right, you'll see San Diego Harbor. This is where Juan Cabrillo actually landed in 1852. I'm sorry, actually landed, I'm going to go way back in time. He actually landed here in 1542. Columbus landed in the New World South, before South America in 1492. 50 years later, Spanish explorer Juan Cabrillo landed here in 1542. Of course, they didn't colonize for another almost 150 years, or 130 years later. But Cabrillo, he was a young man at the time, 43 years old, and he told the king that this was paradise. He said, I found paradise. He got the word back to the king of Spain that he was done. He wanted to retire in San Diego. And the king said, back then it had no name, but it did have some unfriendlies. Now, the natives were not like the native Kumeyaay here. They were not receptive to outsiders like Kumeyaay on the mainland. They were the Tongbens, T-O-N-G-B, not Tongbens, the Tongbens. They warned Cabrillo. They said, do not step foot on our island. Are you in a cruelty scout? So, of course, heeding their warnings, Cabrillo was retreating quickly back to his ship, the San Salvador, slipped on a jagged rock and actually fractured and splintered his ankle to bits. That turned into gangrene, and Cabrillo died 6 months later. Young man, right before his 25th birthday. Tragic story. Now, if it's any consolation, we do have a replica of Cabrillo's with Spanish galleon off to the right. You'll see the one in San Salvador. Good job constructed. Not the real deal, that's a replica. But the Berkeley is a real deal. When you look in front of that steamship, built in 1889, that Berkeley was one that saved a lot of lives. Buried the survivors, thousands of survivors during what they call the Great Earthquake in San Francisco. Across the San Francisco. The Berkeley was responsible for a lot of people being saved. The real deal, not a replica. The Maritime Museum is aboard the Berkeley. If you have any questions, you want to go explore some of these cool vessels. Now, the 555 in front of that was the world's deepest diving submarine. In fact, not only nature, it's
What's the next stop?
Zip code 6 Arizona. Alright, now the Star of India. You look off to your right, you see this old sailing vessel that originally didn't have the name Star of India. England built it, of course, in 1863, around the time Abraham Lincoln was delivering the Gettysburg Address. But it had a weird name, it was called the Euterpe. Anybody that knows mythology, and this took me a while because I had to actually dig into this one. One of the muses, not the goddess of music, but one of the muses, or the goddess of music in the Greek mythology was named Euterpe. I don't like it.
Ate, yun, mag-posing ka lang, dali. Upo ka lang dyan, dali, tayo. Sa meter, oh. Ang tawag dyan? Ang tawag dun? What do you call that boat? Yeah. I think it's a point. I don't have a point. Sige. Sige, kahit saan? What are you trying to do? Yeah, but you can just hold it and you're gonna fly. Taas mo ito pwede. Ha?
Gilbert, Anthony Edwards, and Tom Cruise. What I got? Top Gun! You know that. Well, look across the street. You see the Kansas City barbecue? With the red warnings and the blue umbrellas that are closed up over there? Look in the window to the right side. You can see the logo. It says Top Gun. The reason why is because that's where they shot the scene that was called the Sleazy Honky Tonk. I didn't make that up. That's what it said in the script. Sleazy Honky Tonk. And if you remember now, Goose was at the piano singing to his wife, played by Meg Ryan, this Jerry Lee Lewis hit.
Good job. Keep up. Jackson.
Goodness gracious, great balls of fire.
Touring around the San Diego
Balls
downtown.
of fire. Well, spoiler alert, they shot a sequel to that movie. It's called Top Gun Maverick. Due to come out in major motion picture theaters worldwide on July 2nd. In that film, Tom Cruise saw to it that they spent an additional $9 million in production expenses and flight certified all of the main characters of the actors so that they could go on the planes. So wherever you see actual aerial photography, there is no CGI, no backstage trickery, no green screen, or special effects. It's all real flight photography. And it was so exciting, the world premiere of the trailer to that movie, which was held here at Comic-Con 2 years ago. The MC of that particular panel was Mr. Conan O'Brien, and people knew there was a special guest star that had come. For over 2 days, they lined up in the streets. So on that morning, when they finally announced who that star would be, they were so excited to hear it was Tom Cruise, and he showed the world premiere of the trailer of that movie and got a standing ovation for 6 minutes. They were so excited to see the beautiful aerial photography and the stunning cinematography involved. Now we're moving into the next stop. This is the Marriott, which was originally called the Intercontinental Hotel. Those 2 towers to the right were the first 2 structures built here on the reclaimed land taken from the bottom of the bay. So look to the left. You see the freight train there? That is the original shoreline where the palm trees are, where the train is running. All of this area on this side of the street is material taken from the bottom of the bay, including everything needed for this hotel to the right. This is our stop, the Marriott. This place around the tour. I'm not cleaning, I'm disinfecting. I'm using a very powerful disinfectant. I'm going over to public space. The rails here to be used to get on and off the vehicle. So that's why we keep the mask on above the nose now, for your safety and for mine. And I want to make sure that you all understand that it does make a difference. It's what keeps us in business. We couldn't do this tour unless we did this. So when the Intercontinental Hotel sold this property to the Marriott, they first called it the Marriott Marina because on the backside of the property there's a beautiful collection of yachts and boats and expensive fine dining. And then they built the convention center. And this side of the hotel became very important. So they installed that ramp and put a new facade on the building and this little slice of Hawaii right out front. That was put in because a wedding party wanted to have their wedding photos over here and claim that they got married in Hawaii with that as the backdrop. True story. I don't think they paid any more for the film. But you sure do when you stay here because they upgraded the Marriott Marina and called it the Marriott Marquis and charged a hell of a lot more for the room.
Look at the train, it's long. That's a long train.
There was a woman from Northern California. Her name was Kate Sessions. She was the one responsible for all the beautiful foliage throughout the city. These trees on this side of the street are called coral trees, which are brought in from South America. Now, they are just about to bloom. Those bright red blooms. And that's all there will be on the tree are just the flowers, no leaves. And they trimmed the tree to make it look like an underwater coral tree. That's why it's called a coral tree. Once the blooms are done, they fall off and the leaves come in full force. All right,
It's a long
let's take a
train.
trip back in time. 1850. This had just become the capital of the 31st state of the Union, California. But the capital itself was an old town, 3 miles long. This area was desolate. All there was in this entire neighborhood was a pier right where we are. We'd literally be on the end of the pier right here, about to drive onto mainland when we cross over at the train track. On the other side to the left, there would have been a wharf. On the other side to the right, there would have been a warehouse. And there was one residential home in the entire downtown area.
owned by a man named William H. Davies. He had constructed that home in the east, on the east coast, and brought it here on a barge, shipped it around Cape Horn, and brought that two-story wooden structure up the west coast and planted the house at the intersection of State and Market in the heart of what was then a city that the locals called Rabbittville. That was a derogatory term by all intents and purposes, because that's all there was down here, folks. There was cactus, sagebrush, chaparral, yucca, and thousands of rabbits. So when William H. Davies built that warehouse and the wharf and his little downtown, if you will, he tried to convince the locals to come down here and help establish this. Here, it's Ralph's. The birth of the jazz movement was here in the early 30s. It was in a place called the Crossroads Cafe. Now, y'all know Jim Croce? He had his first big bar here as well, and his wife still owns it. Now, I described to you the Century Block that had that fire company and the police department and the city hall and the liquor store, all that. Okay, on the left, across the street, that's the Century Block, the white and black building. The Crossroads Cafe is right here. That building has stained glass that dates back to 1910. It was owned by 4 brothers from France. It's been 27 different national restaurants, international restaurants. And now we're on the point. We're almost to the next stop. We're coming up to the Gaslamp Quarter. And here's my guest songs. That little house that Alonzo and Sarah lived in.
Oh, this one, this is the only house.
It's now the Gaslamp Quarter Museum, and there it is, on the left. That's the oldest wooden structure in the city.
The oldest, this one.
The Horton House originally. It's been a war barrack, it's been a hospital, it's been a private residence, and now it's a Gaslamp Quarter Museum. And we made it. This is the Gaslamp Quarter stop. We're through, and now the Gaslamp Quarter coexists. Now we roll into the neighborhood. It's called the Stingery. The Stingery was a 16-square-block area south of Broadway that had over 171 bordellos. This was the Red Lamp District. And the reason we call it the Gas Lamp District is because the gas lamps were first run with methane gas. Electricity was first established on the island of Coronado back in the 1880s. 20 years later, they finally got around to getting it into downtown San Diego. When they did, and they got rid of the methane lamps, they installed the electric lamps, and to pay homage to the roots of the city, renamed the neighborhood the Gaslamp Quarter, because they were trying to get away from the horrible reputation the neighborhood had as the Stingery. The officers would tell the sailors as they disembarked the vessels, "Look out, boys, don't get stung in the Stingery." And what they were talking about wasn't necessarily the stingrays in the water that might sting them. It would be a bad deal, or worse yet, a disease from one bordellos. Now, you see that diagonal line of trees in the park in front of us? That was the shore originally. And here, the Hilton Hotel on the right, the Hilton Gaslamp. This was Horton's Wharf. This building was the heart of his city, and we're coming up on what would have been Main Street, USA, to Alonzo Horton. It was
Main
Fifth
Street,
Avenue.
USA.
The highest concentration of restaurants, shops, pubs, and hotels was on this avenue, and is still that way to this day. That's why we have it blocked off, to vehicular traffic, because it's set up for pedestrian use only. During the pandemic, we used the streets for outdoor dining.
Look,
Now, that beautiful old spaghetti factory on the right is one of the oldest buildings in the city, over 120 years ago.
Old
It was
spaghetti.
first established, and inside there's a trolley, part of that establishment. And check out the sidewalks. They're all brick. There was a period of renovation in the late 1970s.